Yo, Shantanu, how's it going?
Yeah, hi. Going right. I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. I just kicking off this space. Started it like a minute or two early, giving everyone a chance to hop in. Um, Nat should be jumping in here shortly. But
So, how was the week? How was the start of the week?
oh, it was cold. It was cold, man. I was working in 12-degree weather today, so
It's minus
that's
here.
Fahrenheit. That's Fahrenheit. That's not 12 Celsius.
It's -3 over here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
chilly. I'd have to
yeah,
look
I
up
think
the
it's the same.
conversion on that, man. But yeah, it was real cold. Um, Below
Uh,
freezing,
yeah,
that's for
uh,
sure. What
so Hero is also here. Hi, Hero. How are you?
was that?
Hero is also on the Hero.
Yeah, yeah. I do electrical work, and they started us on our rough end, so like the house just has like framing and studs up, so it's not or anything. So like, uh,
Yeah.
what about your
So,
week? Start out pretty good.
yeah, pretty good. Yeah, some university work and preparing some documents on the stacks, ordinals, like I said yesterday. Yeah, I'm like researching. Want to be into it.
Nice, nice.
Yeah,
Have,
work,
have you
work,
met
work.
Have you
All
met
day.
Hero yet?
Yeah, we met in the conference at Bitcoin Unleashed, and we also went for the dinner that night. Yeah.
Oh, okay, dope,
So
dope.
I don't know if you remember, no, I don't.
And
Yeah, I will message you.
Hero,
Yeah,
how's
there were two of you, no? Like you and your friend.
Yeah, so yeah, me and my friend, yeah, but nowadays he's not active much in the community. So he came the other day, but yeah, but now pretty good. I've been active pretty good in the community, yeah, and because of the net, yeah, so I got chance to work with the stacks, so pretty good opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. You are still studying, is that correct?
Yes, almost my studies are over, so I'm into my dissertations now. So yeah, my
Dissertation
dissertations are good.
for
Yeah, the last
final
year project.
year? For final year or
Yeah, it's a final year MSc blockchain and fintech. Uh,
MSc, Master for Blockchain and FinTech? Okay. And what
yeah.
thesis? What are you writing on?
So my thesis is based on the digital matter theory that I have been into looking, and
Digital what?
so what
Can
I
you explain
uh,
to me what this is?
so I was taking the digital matter theory, that the
It, it,
concept of the arbitrary, the arbitrary and non-arbitrary data of the Bitcoin blocks. So from that, so I was thinking to, so actually our library has some archives, and they also hosted 2012 Olympics. They were host for the Team USA in the 2012 Olympics. So they have pretty much good library archives with them. So I thought to connecting the library archives so that data could be online to the
so
blockchain.
it sounds interesting to me as a sort of trying to understand the little bit of technical. So Bitcoin has arbitrary data fields like op-return, right? So that's maybe arbitrary. And what are
Yeah.
non-arbitrary examples in Bitcoin? Opcode or
Uh,
something?
Hello.
Yeah, give me some
Uh,
example of non-arbitrary data.
so non-arbitrary data of the token means recently I've been looking into it. So recently I have been looking into it into the NAT non-arbitrary data token that is now trending into the Ordinals wallet. So like talking with some Matty and all the other guys, so they are also helping me out for the thingy. So yeah, let's see. So I'm trying to develop on it. Yeah. So trying to also learn from it how it works and how things can be integrated on the Bitcoin with the help
Okay,
of
okay.
this thing.
Sounds cool. So you are basically researching into Bitcoin technology, writing about it.
Yeah. Yeah, Bitcoin and the stacks.
Yeah. So
Pretty much actually also active on the. Yeah. Sorry.
your dissertation will also mention something about stacks.
Yeah, so I also showed some documents of the stacks to my professor. So the recent developments on the sOrdinals and so he asked me, "Can you do on that?" So yeah, let's see what he
Yeah.
says on that.
I mean,
Because pretty,
he probably doesn't know as much as you do, correct? Because you're
yeah,
probably on the front, sort of closer on the ground. He's just sort of overseeing stuff and managing stuff. So you have to do the research, correct?
Yeah, I have to do the research and all the part of the yeah. So yeah, currently active in the Stacks community a lot. So and also in the STX20
Yeah.
Discord group also.
Yeah. I think interestingly, like I think if you, I'm gonna pin a couple of posts up. I think those two articles gonna help you in your research. Okay, so
Oh yeah.
if you look in the nest,
Mm.
there is one
Yeah.
article about stacks, about the past and future, or current and future. I think the only sort of inaccuracy we found is a TVL, total value log. So ignore that. But that should give you, or even your professor, some pretty good background as to who are involved in stacks and the timeline of stacks. And then the other article I'll recommend is what Bodley wrote about stacks,
Mm.
because
Okay.
what he's essentially saying is stacks is almost like a sovereign Validium rollup of some kind already on Bitcoin because of its unique proof of transfer mechanism and the way
Okay.
you deal with data storing on stacks and also posting onto Bitcoin, and how the mining works is all pretty sort of unique. And all that there makes a pretty good argument at a stretch of definition that it's a first sovereign Validium L2 on Bitcoin. So I think that could be a good one for you to look into.
Yeah, also on the stacks maps also, yeah, also interested on the stacks map thing. So we were also looking into the yeah
I mean,
stacks map.
when
Yeah.
you're talking about STX20, that's not exactly stacks anymore. It's almost like stacks meta protocol. It's almost like stacks is a meta protocol on Bitcoin, right? Because Bitcoin
Yeah.
doesn't understand stacks. All
Yeah.
Bitcoin sees is some arbitrary data being posted into Bitcoin. And the same way, like, STX20 just writes some I don't want to call it bullshit, but it's just easy to describe some arbitrary data or bullshit in the memo field. But then, how do you interpret that messages in the memo field? You need like a additional protocol to govern that rule or off-chain indexer or whatever. So it's not exactly stacks. It's kind of stacks plus, or i.e. meta protocol outside of stacks that governs SCX20. But there are
Yeah.
stacks inscriptions. There's different type people now combining all type of flavors and giving the meta protocol different sort of
Different versions.
different levels of trust assumptions. There's just different levels of trust, like how native it is or how meta protocol it is. It's just like different spectrum. All these different newly sprung up meta protocol stacks, they're all kind of different flavors of the meta protocols. And stacks is a meta protocol of a flavor of meta protocol on top of Bitcoin, if you like. And let's say no difference to BRC20. BRC20 is also like a meta protocol on Bitcoin.
Bitcoin, yeah. The same
Evening.
BRC20.
Good evening, guys. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. How's everyone
Hey,
doing?
What's up, bro?
Welcome.
What's going on, man? Yeah. Hero. Shantanu is become Stacks London community builder just last week, so he will be leading up some sessions with us. Hopefully at UEL, University of. So yeah, definitely a guy that's really involved and dedicated to the community right about now.
thank you so much, Nick.
So what's going on? We're talking meta protocols here on Stacks tonight. Is that what we're talking about, or
Well,
where do
the
you guys want to
discussion
take it?
kind of just kicked off, and I wasn't going to stop it because it was good. So
Yeah, I was
I was
listening as
just
well.
bullshitting while waiting for a few people to join in, and I didn't know if Hero and Shantanu had met yet, so I went to introduce them, and of course they met at Bitcoin Unleashed in London. So I guess like an introduction wasn't really needed, and they kind of just started talking, discussing. No, it was a good discussion though.
Yeah, definitely. Stacks is obviously become really exciting recently for a lot of people in the wider space, obviously, and this is you know what we've all been here stacking and talking
Yeah.
about for a while. So
I mean,
yeah,
I don't know if how do you pronounce your name? Shatano?
It's
Shantaman?
fine. You can call me Shan also. Yeah.
Okay.
Shantan. Okay, yeah. So yeah, why Stacks is good in some ways. It's also because it's getting adoption, right? So I'll pin. If you look at another tweet I just posted yesterday, Blockstream. You know, Blockstream Liquid Network is by Adam Back. It's a
Blockchain.
federated chain.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
had to look
yeah,
into it.
yeah,
Yeah, so that's one of the most prominent network as well on sort of sidechain on Bitcoin. But that sidechain of Bitcoin is not getting used. It's one transaction per block that they have right now, approximately. You can actually check the Explorer yourself. Just Google Liquid Explorer, you'll find it. They approximately have 1 or 2 transactions on average. Sometimes 6 is like a good block. 6 transaction per block and 1 minute per block. It's kind of slow, I guess. I mean, faster than us right now, but post after Nakamoto upgrade, we will be faster than them. But anyway, the point is they are not really getting any user adoption. 1 transaction per block is kind of bad, like for how many years they've been around. And Stacks, we have like the biggest block was like, sorry, not biggest block, but the highest number transaction block was 10,000. So in 10,000, we beat their daily transaction already. It just kind of goes to show people are actually using Stacks right now compared to other Bitcoin sidechains, or maybe perhaps Lightning. I don't know. It's harder to get apple comparison with Lightning, but we are certainly getting more usage than a prominent, Bitcoin sidechain backed by Adam Back. It's kind of interesting.
yeah. And I think another thing what you said there that is quite interesting is as you just described, you know, the fact that with Lightning, you know, you can only guesstimate like a lot of stuff was going on with Lightning, and that's not to say that lots of people ain't using Lightning, because in real world usage, in current day, I would say a lot more people that I come across are using Lightning. You know, there's tons of people but you know, again, as we said previously in other spaces, and you know, Lightning isn't a uh, fully trustless solution. You know, so and then as we said, with the federated networks such as Liquid, you've also got obviously other things that are built on top of Lightning as well, such as was it Fedi, and then what is one that's really interesting or becoming more interesting as it goes on as well is CivKit. I don't know how much you've looked into CivKit, Hero, because I know you're like me, you're a bit of a Bitcoin kind of generalist, everything of the ecosystem, you know. So
Yes, I think SIFKit is more like, as far as I understand, it's more for being able to trade in the market or send and borrow and lend. It's almost like a Zest, as far as I understand, but trying to do it more natively on layer one, or on Lightning. I can't remember is it on Lightning or is it on layer one, but they're kind of trying to be the Zest of, say, Stacks, the Zest of Bitcoin layer of more natively. And it's run by like a Ray. He's like this Egyptian guy, pretty sort of famous in Bitcoin-ish, I guess.
yeah, the guys. So CivKit, as far as I know, because we did a CoinSpam session on CivKit as well last year. So and I know Ray and Nick, and I met Antoine Riyad as well, because he also gave some of the talk in the session. So basically, what CivKit is it does kind of Lightning because it's a NIP. Yeah, basically CivKit's built on Nostr, right? And as you said, it is more like an open marketplace, similar to kind of like Open Bazaar, kind of
Yeah.
yeah. So it's
I,
open
I think
marketplace for
it's kind
trading.
of
Yeah,
open borrow and lend market, I think.
yeah. So there is plans, I know, to have stuff like borrow lending and, let's say, DeFi, if you want to call it that, protocols
Yeah.
working on CivKit. For me, I feel it is one of the more interesting things that people aren't really talking about, because as you said, it's more like using L1 to do everything in a similar way that, like as you said, like
Yeah,
Jest, you know. So
I think if they're using Lightning, it's probably better than Nostr. But the problem is with Lightning under this fee regime, it just isn't gonna work. So they are probably gonna have to rely, if they're using Lightning as a sort of the building on top of Lightning, if you like. I think they're gonna have to rely on Lightning to improve, and otherwise they will struggle. I think anything building on top of Lightning gonna struggle to function properly. Lightning has a lot of issue lately because of the high fee regime. Maybe not right now because we're like 30 sats per byte, but if you imagine like when Lightning is operating under 100, 500 sats, 1,000 sat VByte, and that's just going to break Lightning because, well, until the upgrades, like with I've been listening in lately with the CTV and different kind of recursive covenants or covenant stuff, like those stuff are the sort of are going to make Lightning less problematic and better and more sovereign to use. And I think those stuff are what they need to operate properly as a meta protocol, or maybe layer two, if you like, the true layer two on Bitcoin. But the problem is because they're so reliant on Bitcoin layer one to be upgraded, they gonna have to wait for a long time because the closest estimate, I don't know if we're gonna upgrade 2024 Bitcoin, you know, like we could be talking 2 years, maybe the quickest, or 1.5. Maybe a year is the super quickest, earliest that they can get any upgrade in. And I mean like a soft fork, like what they did with Taproot last time we upgraded was a few years ago. So I think they have more restriction, whereas we on the stacks don't have any restriction. We just build outside like a meta protocol and following exact the same base layer. So I think there is basically just some trade-offs that people building like Sifted, they're building on top of Lightning, need to be okay with that trade-off, I guess.
yeah, definitely agreed. And I think the point that you make there also about you know, the high fee rate, right? Like like stable swaps are basically removed on Lightning almost. You know, if anyone in here like uses Lightning on a regular basis, then you'll probably see that over the last, let's say, couple of days, to using something like Albi or whatever. If you try and send from Lightning to L1, then it, you know, all of the stable swap services are basically either down or have like a very high fee rate as well. So
Yeah.
it's almost pointless using it.
Somebody, there were two more. There was at least one instance where Eric Wu trying to get. He had a bet with Brad Mills, another Bitcoiner, long-time Bitcoiner, and they had some. They basically Brad Mill was saying like, oh yeah, he bets like by this date Ethereum gonna go to like $500, $500 or some shit, and Eric Wu said no, and they had a bet. Anyway, he lost. Brad Mill lost, so and Eric Wu was trying to demand Lightning payment. And then they had like a whole 2-day conversation because they were just having so much problem with Lightning. And then I saw another post from Joe Nakamoto or whatever, that journalist. He got charged randomly like super high fee from Lightning of something that he was trying to do, and he just didn't know he was going to get charged so high or something like that. I think it just Lightning currently is not working very well. Unfortunately, I wish it works better, but yeah.
Yeah, man. Shantanu, what about you? Have you had any experiences using Lightning? Are you using Lightning at all?
No, not that much on the Lightning, yeah, but I was like a bit researching into Taproot assets, the Lightning network. But, you know, some Bitcoiners have thinking of the Lightning, so I was not much into the Lightning. Yeah, but I was like looking in like I'm using Satoshi's wallet for the Lightning to use some Bitcoin transactions here, but not far more than that yet. Usually always on the main chain.
I've used
Yeah,
Lightning before, and I actually really like it. And it's super fast. I don't like how the UI is. You have to send some QR code. Doesn't make sense. As in, like, yes, it makes sense. It might be easier than just typing address. But if you ever used a Chinese app called WeChat, that's what people use there in China. I've been there and I've used their app, and it works really, really well. So I think for me, because I've seen almost like how, I mean, we are trying to compete with how easy it is to use, um, financial apps with the Web2 guys, really, because unless we can beat the Web2 in terms of user friendliness, UI UX, I just think until that day is here, it's just so hard to convince anybody to really move to this crypto world. So I just think
Exactly.
there's still so much improvement needed on Lightning and on Stacks, for that matter.
So I've noticed something, which I mean, you brought up a very valid point there. I mean, trying to talk to people in my area about crypto doesn't typically go over that well. I always hear like cash is king, whatever, and I mean, they're not wrong at the moment. Cash is what makes our society go around. And like you said, until we have something that, is more user friendly, then we're not gonna be able to convince those people.
I mean, I think there's a bit of a crossover there with also the fact that it depends really what type of user, because I think SOV, especially with obviously the ETFs coming and everything, right? Like SOV is definitely going to become more of a thing, right? And people even that are using like buying ETFs, they will research, they will, I feel, begin to start using native Bitcoin. But again, that's from an SOV perspective. That's not from the perspective of, as you said, everyday user payments.
Yeah, I mean, SLV sounds great, but then we are now realizing, like, when you have people just doing dollar cost average and SOV or store value, they are making Bitcoin. They aren't pushing the Bitcoin to the masses. Um, like at the end of the day, they are not generating enough on-chain transactions. Like the people actually using Bitcoin for as a medium of exchange, if you like, i.e. the ordinals people. The ordinals people are actually the ones generating on-chain transactions to help further the network to be more secure. So I think purely just thinking value is okay. I think a bit uh, too short-sighted. I think we do need to start using Bitcoin somehow. Um, Store value is great and the market is big. Like in the financial market is a big market. Um, but yeah, I think it needs to be a combination of both.
Definitely, bro. Definitely need to get more transactions happening, and more things going on with L1. 100%. But we're in here just to reset the room a bit. Thanks to everybody for coming, for jumping in. We're just STX and Chill is becoming like a new weekly fixture where we're just kind of like jumping in and just talking everything STX and Bitcoin, really. So anybody that wants to come up, you're totally welcome to put up your hand, jump up, and join the conversation.
It's more like a bi-weekly fixture because, like, we Nat Nye down there, he runs a show, which is the music and poetry show. So he runs that every other Monday as well. So this one's like a bi-weekly Monday fixture.
So I'm seeing some other people down here as well. Some other friends of Stacks. Zero, are you available? I know me and you were talking about earlier on as well. Let's hear some stuff about Zero leader. which is definitely another interesting development happening on Stacks. Let me see if I can grab the tweet from Zero's profile there and just post it up the top. But people looking for
I sent him an invite as well. So
looking for like work in Web3, especially within the Stack ecosystem, or you're looking to hire somebody or get with somebody and collaborate. Like Zero Authority DAO is becoming the platform that is the go-to platform for that. So it would be great. I know he might not be available right about now, but just trying to find a tweet that I can pin up at the top with the link. But I would encourage everybody to go and also follow him and check out Zero Authority DAO. If you're in the Stacks ecosystem, you're building, you're looking to get something built, and you want to connect with people, then yeah, like Zero Authority DAO is definitely what you should be looking into. Here we go.
Yo,
Posted that
how are
right up
you,
there at the top.
Legions?
yo,
We
how's
are
it going, man?
Hey man,
we
thanks
are we
thanks for
are
the
we are
invite,
degen.
guys.
We started off with a bit of degen talk, I think, just as I jumped in. And I think we'll get back. I think we're going to come back round to it. But I thought, yeah, me and you were talking, so there's no way I'm not going to shout it out, So yeah.
Yeah, no, thanks for the shout out, Atlas. You and I have been talking offline and thinking about like how can we work together, and I've been sharing my plans for what we're going to be rolling out and how we're going to go about it. And I mean, today what zeroauthority.xyz is, it's right now we're still a couple of we have to ship a couple of developments where you can have like comments. So like if someone sends you an offer, then you can go to that gig page and then you can make some comments, so it doesn't have to happen all off platform. That's some people were saying they would like the ability to post comments there between a creator client. So like that's like coming where we need to ship that here next week or two, and then we pretty much like have like the bare bones of like um being able to collaborate together with gigs, whether you're in Stacks London. And what you and I were talking about is Stacks London specific, because then what we're going to start working on next is like the DAO launchpad. And somebody needs to do this work where any individual or any group of people or entity can launch their own DAO on chain. I just saw that they finally had a relaunch of their DAO on chain, and it should have been up and running, but Stacker DAO, they had some other priorities and they kind of had to shut down and pivot. So it kind of really comes what we're trying to do, because the conversation you and I had, I was saying, well, with Stacks London, would you like to have a DAO that's on chain and you can do proposals and voting? And then how I envision like all of this coming together, because once we ship an update, you'll have the beginning of you can make a request to get some collaboration done, whether it's like I want someone to create some art for me for my NFT or for my ordinal. I want to find a developer so they can code up this thing for me, or I could find someone who does smart contract auditing like that. Like you can do that right now, which is pretty cool in my opinion, in a decentralized way, as permissionless and trustless, right? And then a lot of the people, we all kind of know them for the most part, but at some point, especially once we get into the Nakamoto and the SBTC, like the floodgates are just going to open, because I was on We Are Ready podcast with the Jack Bin Switch today. Me and Huddle were on it, just kind of talking with Rosar about Welshcoin and DAOs and Zero Authority and Trajan. We're going to have some really cool announcements in a couple weeks too, with reputation on chain. Eventually, we'll launch our API. We'll work with Gamma, Alex, Arcadico, Seigel to use our API, where you can see on a user profile, here is their reputation, what they've done for gigs on chain, what they've done for endorsements, any badges that they're earning. So like all of that stuff is coming together. It's pretty cool, for my opinion. And then I see my good buddy Hero Gamer here. We've been launching a pilot test to run decent D grants on Zero Authority, and there's the experience isn't as great as it could be today, but I really applaud Hero to say let's try to do it and let's see what we can do. Now, granted, we have enough today where people who are going to sign up for D grants, if once Hero Gamer, once they connect their wallet, once they establish your profile, he'll be able to send them some stacks and then have some milestones. And if they accomplish that, then the smart contract releases those releases that the custody of funds. So we don't hold any funds personally. We don't do anything. The smart contracts are all designed and ready. So like all the building blocks are there. The next couple pieces, once we turn on that DAO launchpad, then anyone can create an organization. You can be an individual. You can be a group. You turn it on. You can do on-chain voting. We're gonna make it super easy, like with templates. Do you want to do one token, one vote? Do you want to do like a quadratic voting where everyone gets 100 votes for the period? Or do you want to do kind of delegation? So we got to build the rest of it. But once you do that, once we have the DAOs and you could do an on-chain governance, I think what Hodl Stacks and I want to do is like the first 10 DAOs, because once we relaunch our token, we want to like fund some of those DAOs. Probably, I mean, with a minimum of like 100. If I have to personally buy 100 SBTC or Stacks, I'll do that. But that would be cool too, just because Stacks London, I would love for you guys to launch a DAO and be able to manage it, have on-chain voting, and see proposals coming through, and then how you're going to use those funds for different activities that you guys want to do. You guys do a lot in the ecosystem. You're trusted. You guys are loved. So like that was what we were talking about. And then like Atlas, you and I were talking about like specific things like if you have a DAO and you want to have like a mini D grants within your DAO, how could that work? So like the pilot test that Hero Gamer and I are doing like right now, we're getting uh, we're getting like developments push. Like you guys see it, we ship updates all the time because we take that feedback, and it's been great feedback. I know a lot of you guys have given me feedback personally, and we listen and we put it back in the development sprints and then push it out. We don't wait months for a big update. Whatever the changes are, we code it up, we push it to testnet, test it out, and then push it out to mainnet. And if you don't have a profile on Trajan or Zero Authority, please sign up to give you guys some alpha. Sign up for an account on both. And if you do a gig, great. If you complete a great gig, even better. If you send an endorsement, great. If you send 5 endorsements, even better. And those are going to be multipliers for the airdrops. So just to drop some alpha here, we love this community. We're finally like in a position where we have the platform. We have some other cool things coming. Maria Verse, who started building V1, V01 for us, she's also launching Papaya DAO. We're gonna do some cool things with that integration coming up, where you can have some liquid staking on Zero Authority, and then we're gonna try to like I said, with those first 10 DAOs on Zero Authority, we're going to try to do some funding to the multi-sig wallets for whatever events you want to do. So that's pretty cool. And I'm like super stoked to keep working with you, Atlas, and the whole Stacks London team.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank
Yeah.
you. That was a great rundown. That was an absolute great rundown. Yeah,
No,
we've been
no, yeah, for real.
talking about some of this stuff for a minute, and then adding on to that little bit of alpha. Sorry, there before you go, Conrad. But just adding on to that little bit of alpha. For the people who've been with the Stats London community for some time, you'll remember that we have already member NFTs that we launched last year that are still available on I think Halea's marketplace, but we've got a private page, so it's just marketplace.halea. I think it's marketplace.halea.com/STXLDM. So maybe, just maybe, they might be worth something.
And I just want to say, man, that's excellent work. That's something that this ecosystem's needed. I mean, it's definitely something that's been talked about, but no one's really built yet. So that's awesome, man.
Honestly, we thought some, and you guys have been here since last January with us. Remember last January, and Hero Gamer remembers this. I mean, there were Purple Pill Friday would probably like have 3 people. It would be us, Hero Gamer, and Dan
Yeah,
and Brad.
yeah.
So to see everyone here in the new bull run, get the new excitement going and the new tooling and solution. When Hodl Stacks and I started this, we created like this Web 2 version, which was totally like a directory. We honestly didn't think it would become more than that. We said, let's just test it out because there are so many people in Stacks in Discords, on Twitter, in Telegram, on Reddit, and like it's so like defragmented, which is really good because it's decentralized. So you have all these communities and tribunals like popping up and doing great work. Like I was talking to Rosar during the We Are Ready podcast, and he revived the whole Welsh coin. So like that's no one told him to do that. Like that's the whole reason, the whole name behind Zero Authority is like you don't need permission to build anything. Just go off and do it, and people will start like kind of following you. If you ever watch Forrest Gump, there's a part in Forrest Gump where he just starts running and he has no reason. He's just running across the country, and like he has like this whole like this whole group of fandom and like people following him, and then like halfway he just walking home. We're not gonna quit on you guys, but I thought somebody would do this, and I'm like, you know what, we're gonna do this now because it's the right time. The all the events that you guys have done, like, yeah, there's Discord and there's Telegram and Twitter, there's great places, but like even with your NFTs, we should be able to provide some tooling where you could say we want a token gate based on our NFT or based on do you hold the STX coin. Even if you launch a SIP10 or STX20, like we should be able to give you the tooling to do that. Then the cool thing, because you guys will probably be one of the first ones to launch your DAO on chain with us, then you could you could have that multi-sig wallet. We can contribute a little bit, whatever we can, and then watch you guys use it to build community even more. That would just, that's so awesome. I those are the things I love watching people do in this ecosystem. Just invite people from the outside and totally show them like just kindness and love, and say like, here's how you can build things, here's NFTs, here's ordinals. And I see that all the time, and that's just so awesome. All right, I
Yeah.
see Resh join, and I know he's gonna have a bunch of shit to say.
Yes, come on up, man.
Resh, you gotta come on up, bro. You jumped in, bro. You gotta come on up. You've been hit. You're part of the team, bro. And sorry, just before you came in as well, Zero, right? So just to kind of again introduce some of the people in here and big up to everybody that's in here. But there are definitely some Stacks OGs in here, and definitely there's a few Bitcoin OGs in here as well. But Shantanu and Nai, I just wanted to highlight that those two guys are part of the Stacks London community. They are community builders within the Stacks London community. So not only are they just a part of the community, those guys also decided, as you said, to just get up and start doing what they could to bring more people into the community and do more development and touch on more subjects within the Stacks London and within Stacks. So big up to those guys. Big up to the Light. I can see you down there as well. Big up to David Pierre. Also, big up to Lawless XR. Like Lawless has been supporting Stacks London since the very first event. He's probably come out to most of the events. He came to the community builder event that we did in 2022, and he works a lot with as his name said, XR experiences, so AR, VR, and across between the two. And he's also, looking to build things in the gaming realm and in the VR realm to do with Stacks. So that is another builder. And then big up, sorry, also just before we move on, Conrad, before you jump in there, big up also to We Are 2140 and to Mad Monkey, who is also a part of the 2140 movement. Now, that is something that I announced quite recently that I'm kind of doing as a side project as well. I'm working on a project called 2140 Art, and that is around music, money, culture, and everything to do with basically those aspects of mine. And what 2140 is, 2140 is a movement that concentrates on everything that basically is the principles of Bitcoin, and also like the if you haven't read it yet, it might be good to go on the 2140art.com site, and you will be able to read the Cypherpunk Manifesto. So this is basically where all of this roots from. And those guys are doing really big work. They're also supporting Julian Assange as well with his as well. So everything is really focused on the principles that Bitcoin has and the cypherpunk movement has brought in terms of freedom and decentralization and open choice. So yeah, got to big up to those guys as well.
Zero, may I ask you a question about how is well, I got some update. I think most of the people down their most important, the grantees, sorry, about it from the D grants. There are 6 projects, I believe, and then I think they've all done their KYC, which is the most important part to get their first payment. So now, basically, this week and next week, well, I think over the next few days, actually, we need to set up the profile. Do you think? Because I think basically, apparently, the finance probably is readier. How do you say it? They're ready earlier than expected. Do you think the milestone contract is ready yet?
Hey, Hero. Yeah, so it's not the milestone contract isn't ready. So you're going to have to do it just based on the start date and date that is available today. I think what I was trying to is try to have a good update for the milestone. So the way it works today and where we started, and if you guys want to see kind of like what the future is on site x0authority.xyz, there's a docs link at the very top, and that docs link we have like a product roadmap. And then we have like some screenshots and like the experiential release, which is V2, where we have to combine some data and build out the basic functionality. So we have gigs now. You could send someone a request. So what Hero Gamer is talking about is we have to code up the Clarity contract to do milestone based gigs. The way it works today is just time based gigs, and it's if you find someone, you can make them an offer, and then we're going to have some comments on the gig page. So like if you go to the site, you'll see some names scrolling across the top. If you view their you can click on view, and then it kind of opens a preview, and then some people have completed some gigs, and then you'll see that under reputation. But that's gonna change in a few weeks here and there when we have the whole new release, and it's going to be all dark theme. What that profile page is going to look like is totally revamped, and it's going to be really nice, and it's going to have your gigs, it's going to have reputation data, endorsements from Trajan, and we're also going to we already pull in Cycle data. So if you have any Cycle data under your current wallet, we're pulling that in. We're going to make it look pretty nice, and today it's there. It doesn't look as pretty as it could, but that what the contract is based on, the Clarity contract, when we coded it, it's a time-based contract. So you make an offer to someone to do something, to collaborate, be to create music. It can be you want some consulting advice. It could be like Maddie Stacks offering tokenomics advice, and you pay whatever the amount you feel comfortable is today. Over time, we'll have like automated pricing, and then you could see like what the whole it's almost going to be like Uber pricing. So if you go to make an offer, you can have like a high, medium, low, almost like like a stacks fees, right? If you pay high, medium, low, and them engage. And so when we're on the milestone based contracts, what you'll be able to do is say, if you achieve milestone, then unlock this amount of whatever you put into the contract. It could be mega token. It'd be today's only STX, but we're gonna do mega token. We're gonna do the liquid staking token. We're gonna do Deco, Alex, and whichever ones. Eventually, we'll probably try to do some BRC20. Definitely Bitcoin for native Bitcoin, and then when we have those milestone based ones, we'll be able to turn that on too. So then you'll say achieve this milestone, and both people say it's done, and unlock the reward.
So when is the milestone coming?
I
Estimate.
I will estimate that as it will be coming in February.
Okay, so just practical logistics. So what about we? I figured out who each person's upfront, how much they need upfront. So we can
Okay.
put those upfront as an individual sort of one-off thing, and then when later then they will go on to completing the first milestone, which will probably be, most of them probably completed like in January or February or sometimes even later. So we can do like two separate sort of gigs, if you like. One is upfront money, and the other ones are all milestones, but based on zero upfront, because and then you kind of just reference that that upfront was already in a separate contract, if you like.
So what you could do, what we could end up doing for that, because there's a handful of people, they need some upfront money to get started coding up stuff. What
Yeah,
we could do
exactly.
is like just based on what we have now, and I think that's what you're saying, Hero. What we
Yeah,
have now, they say I do D grants, you find them under D grants, and then in the scope of work, just say this is the first installment.
yeah,
You need this to get started, and the end date could literally be the next day or 2 days,
yeah,
and
exactly. Yeah,
yeah, so that I think that makes sense. And then once we turn on the milestone based contract, that'll be available for the next round.
yeah, sounds good. I think that's what we are gonna have to do. I'm gonna open a DM, you, me, and Jack, please, to get this thing up because I think
Okay.
he's intending to send the applicants sometime soon.
Okay.
So I think we probably need because he can just easily send directly, but we want to actually test it out, right? So let's try and get him onto this thing.
Yeah, and I think the good thing about it is when we send that first payment, we'll also have the gig ID, and that gig ID can live as like a historical reference to like, hey, you already got this, the contract unlocked, and you were able to get this. Now you're gonna do so that could be like gig 5, and then gig 10 will be the actual milestone based contract. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Hero. And then Atlas, the other thing, once we get past this first phase, we got some just like that. We got to get some dates to that milestone based contract, get the new front end, and once we get there, the next piece of work is that DAO launchpad, and then what we want to do from there is be able to when and I don't know how far away this is, but once we have the new token, we're going to have people staking it, and people who stake it could also be reviewers. So this is the thing that we also have baked into the consensus of this protocol is that anytime there is a dispute between a client and creator, the way it works, if let's say the client said let's collaborate together and the creator just didn't deliver anything, they could mark it as a reduction in the total. Now if the creator doesn't believe that they actually provided a good experience and they disagree, that would go to the DAO core to review. And so there's comments that you can add as a client, comments as a creator, and then that can be reviewed. In the future, months from now, when you stake your token and that goes into the dispute, it'll take 5% and then it'll randomly select 5 people to do the review. And all you'll see is the comments from the client, the comments from the creator, and what was the percentage and the total payment. And those 5 people can select who they believe should be entitled to that amount or that percentage. And it's going to be totally decentralized. We don't have to do anything. That's the power of Web3 that HODLstacks and I, we spent so many weekends kind of figuring this stuff out, and that's like that's the stuff that gets me excited, like that you can have people staking the token and then become reviewers for these disputes where they say, what the hell, Zero, how did you reward that person? It was like, it wasn't me, it was a community. And you're also disincentivized to go into a dispute because it's going to lock up 5% of that total anyway. So like I just think like that's the cool thing we could do with Web3 now.
Crazy, bro. That is absolutely crazy. Yeah, maybe Conrad and has Resh gone? Oh, damn, Resh is gone. I'd like to hear their thoughts, definitely.
Rush
And
said Russia actually messaged us, said he couldn't speak at the moment because he's got his son sleeping and he doesn't
oh,
want to wake him.
okay. Yeah, so some thoughts from yourself, Conrad, because I know that part was a surprise, but I know me and Zero have pretty much talked about the other stuff, right? So, so what is you guys' take on that? I mean, Shantanu as well. You're obviously a community builder, a big part of the community right now. So, what are your
I mean,
thoughts on what
that to
Zero's talking
me, that's
about?
super exciting because it's something that we've kind of briefed over quite a few times in our meetings and stuff, talking about how can we like reward our community members, how can we, you know what I mean? And we were I know we were looking at different ways we could do it. We're like, well, we could start a stacking pool or something, but we'd at least need like 50,000 stacks with your stacking pool. You know what I mean? We were looking at all sorts of ideas, but this kind of solves all our pain points that we were having, and it's fucking amazing. In layman's terms, man. And just to kind of touch on, like you said, like just the Forrest Gump running thing, it reminded me of, when we started Stacks London. We weren't even an official chapter when we decided to start Stacks London. We noticed that like the Stacks community wasn't really huge when we started. There were people like Stacks Parrots was going. That was like the biggest thing kicking off was like Stacks Parrots and Megaponts, and then like Minotauri rugged everyone. That sort of shit was going on. And we were trying to start NFT clothing club. Yeah, thumbs down, Minotauri. Yeah. And we were trying to start NFT clothing club, and we just noticed like for what we were trying to do, the community wasn't quite there yet. And we almost sort of switched gears and put a pause on that. And we're like, all right, we're going to start Stacks London. We weren't like an official chapter, nothing at the time. And we're like, we'll just start putting on events ourselves. So like the first couple, we put on ourselves. And I think it was like it was like around the second event that we actually became like a Stacks chap. And there it was just feet to the ground sort of thing. So it's been like pretty amazing seeing the growth in that as well. As Nat said, like it's a huge shout out to everyone who's helped us, from the Web3 cat to Nat and I, Resh, Shantanu, everyone. It's been an amazing experience so far. And I just kind of wanted to touch on that. I'll let someone else speak.
Hey, what are the plans for the year? What are you guys planning to do, Stacks London?
There is like so much difference going on right about now. I think it's got into a bit of a mix up at the beginning of January because as well, as I said, we're focusing. The two main things that we're focusing on right now are developer program and community builder program. So developer program is something that we're building out with local universities to bring more development and more direct onto BTC development as well. So building on Bitcoin, basically bringing that into university spaces, bringing that to more developer spaces, and obviously bringing Stacks with it. There is a few blogs that have been out, and there are some new ones about to drop on both of these programs. So look out for those, and you can find them on the timeline or on the website. So that's the developer program. The community builders program now is, as I said, Shantanu and Nat Knight are both part of that program. Also, there's another character that you guys might have seen, Ben Richard Crypto. He's also another community builder, and these guys are starting their own kind of community bases. Kind of as you said, Zero, they was kind of like starting their own fan bases, which may turn into community DAOs or other things, but they're all starting from different places. So Nat Knight is coming from the creator industry, focusing on musicians, focusing on music and how music and Web3 are connected, and bringing more people to Bitcoin and music specifically. Ben Richard is going to be releasing very soon some Stacks sessions, which are like basically very easy primers on a lot of the applications around the ecosystem. I will also be doing the same thing in between time as well. Shantanu, as I said, is at the moment leading up a lot of developer engagement for the community. And yeah, I mean, Conrad, obviously, he's there on the Stacks and or the doc, as he's better known in the Stacks ecosystem, is building more things towards that kind of community base, so that way, when community builders come in, we have for them to be able to learn from, and resources that we're able to give them. And then I think the wider picture, that's just Q1, right, for now. But I think the wider picture and something that's come back to light, and again, going back to when we first were starting, and when we first met Hero, we met Hero in the Advox DAO, and even with like the work that Hero was doing there, like a lot of that experience has come into these programs that we're building. So with Hero and the Advox program, a lot of that experience of being in the core of the community. So I think there is a lot of talk happening around bringing Stacks advocates into the fold as well. So creating kind of a kind of community pipeline for different community builders. And I know Stacks Australia, so big up to them, and Gordon and Sam and that team. So bringing people in, basically in person or IRL, that can then come into the ecosystem and find a place within the ecosystem, and also be supported by members of the ecosystem, you know, through either their local community or the advoc style, right? Which again should be expanded a lot. Everybody's had lots of different work to do over the past let's say 16 to 18 months. So if you don't know about the Stacks Advocates DAO, it's called the Advocates DAO, but if you just type in STX Advox or Stacks Advox into Twitter, then you'll find the profile, and anyone can join the Stacks Advocates. You just have to be a part of the community really and have a BNS name, and that's it.
Is anybody sort of leading that DAO? I thought Sam was gonna do, or anybody else, because I think it needs some, you know, just leadership, to be honest.
It needs some TLC for sure. I'm not.
I think. Oh, sorry. Go on. Oh, no,
I was just gonna say I'm not 100% sure. I try and pop in there still here and there, but it's not as busy as it once was. I mean, initially that's where I met you, Hero, was in the advocacy. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I think you know, like how Welsh was revived by this Rosa guy. So I think the same could be said. Like it takes someone or a team to just more dedication towards something, and leadership and planning. Otherwise, it stays pretty over decentralized, if you like, at this super early phase. And I think it could do with some injection.
Yeah, I think obviously here, I know you've been speaking in there recently, and we had a conversation recently in there, and I think that what it kind of is, as I just said, is really, I think we've all built these legs, you know, that we started off when we were all in advocates, trying to put together, as you said, kind of advocates, whilst keeping the decentralization of it. But we've all built these legs that are kind of outside advocates, and I think what we know, because we spent a long time with the creators of advocates, so I'd like to just big them up as well, like Harold and Haas, like crazy work on advocates, right? And some of the other members like Merrick and Ryder and Juliet, like who really started that off and kicked that off, like Advocates DAO, I think we know kind of works in that way, like how where Zero was saying Zero could plug in Zero Authority does, and it plugs in like everything in the Stacks ecosystem could plug into Advox style, and you would have really clean decentralized governance across the whole entire, you know, ecosystem. And I think we all believe that, but as you said, Hero, it's a case of we've all had to build our own legs to attach to that framework, that body of it. So you're right, it does need like a not a new, but it needs a revived leadership to be able to put all these legs onto the body and start walking again. David, what's up, bro? I see you down there as well. I'd like to big up David as well, because David is a big member of Stacks Nigeria, and those guys have been putting in crazy work, like crazy work. If I had to say, out of the kind of regional advocates or the regional chapters, right? The Nigeria TM, they did exactly the same thing. They came in and they just started building, like, and they started well. So Dave, definitely, bro, if you're down there, I see you got the speaker, so jump up, bro. Say hello.
Yo, shout out to everyone, so nice to be here. Stacks London. You guys are, one of my faves in the Stacks community. Yeah, I see Hero, shout out to Hero, great guy. Like he said before I came on, we've been, trying to put out some builds for community building, and lots of crazy stuff is going on. We are trying to see how we can bring these use cases, the blockchain technology, all this cool stuff, try to implement them in local communities, just get a final grassroots integration into the blockchain technology. So that's what we're currently building on, alongside Stackers Pool, Tech Care, and the rest of the guys right here in Nigeria. We're just trying to put out that community spirit, because totally for me, there's been the community spirit throughout everything. throughout this period of everything from the grants and up to this moment, the community spirit. And I see that spirit a lot in Stacks London. I see of that community building together, staying together, helping and collaborating more especially. Yeah, I see that. And I'm quite interested in Zero Auth. I've seen you guys a lot. I've seen it, but I've never tried out the app, and I'm just trying to see if I can kink up with it and just tweak it and see if I can create my own profile or anything, because I need those gigs, bro. I
Yeah,
need those
Zero. You
gigs.
know what? I found another gig that I did recently, sort of before I thought about it, was you know, when we vote on the ecosystem network upgrade last year, we voted on Stack Super One, and there was a little gig that I asked Boozy if he can make like the voting banner design. So that was like a little gig that we could have put on it. And this year, I actually asked if the artist could do a little banner, and that could have easily gone on Zero Authority actually. But I didn't think about it at the time, so we just like, okay, here's how much the budget is, and then she just went did it, and yeah.
Yeah, you see, those are the use cases. Those are the use cases we're talking about. I know lots of guys that are going to benefit from this. In my local community, there have been cases of people being robbed. Trying to just get a job, and the founder or whatever. Like my designer right now in Stacks Unity Hub, he told me a sad story of how a founder came and he did lots of designs for web designs, lots of work for him, and the guy just disappeared. You understand? So Zero Auth is trying to bring in, securities in a decentralized manner, in a very, very intuitive and creative manner to, put out all these shenanigans and everything. So I'm totally in for it. Trying to solve these use cases that are very viable for pushing mass adoption. With something like this, you can see more integration of crypto, DeFi, whatever in our local environments. For example, you want to fix your ceiling. You can find someone on Zero Auth on the gig, and you could just get him. You know, I know the project is going to scale. Scale thoroughly. I know. I believe Stacks guys when it comes to the building, like men like Trippy Monkey. When it comes to the building, I believe for that one, lots of things have happened in just the past few weeks in the Stacks ecosystem, and I haven't even recovered. Like XTX, I was trying to recover from STX20, and the sOrdinals just hit out, and I'm like, damn, like I love the builds and everything that's coming up. Is really, really amazing. And recently I've been trying to look into lots of arms. When it comes to blockchain data, blockchain data analytics and indexing and stuff like that. Been doing a lot of research to because I want to start my own start a project too. So I'm just trying to grab the ropes of everything. Yeah. And there was one of my friends that is I think is a music producer. I've been talking to him about Bitcoin and NFTs. I think we should be getting him on one of our spaces. And though he's just starting out in the professional space, but he has done lots of cool stuff. So I'm still looking at bringing those kind of guys into the blockchain space to see how they can leverage it, because totally one of the best and most viable way I see value, or how do I put it, value, basically value scaling, is through the blockchain, because the blockchain lets you create that transparent value system. So I really love what's going on. I'm expectant, my hearts are open. you know just trying to follow up all the trends and keep up and keep doing the good work, keep spreading the word, spreading the love, spreading everything. So in the end, we are better than where we started from. Yeah, so totally. So Zara, I think I really need to create that profile. I don't know if you can guide me through that. I really need that profile.
Hey, well, David, thanks so much, brother. Maybe one day, people will do different kind of services on Zero Authority, and it'll scale in that way. Uh, I personally, back in 2020, like I hired someone on Fiverr to do some NFT art, and I mean, this the art he did looked like my daughter, and she's about 1.5. It looked like she could have done it, and I didn't. There was like, it was like so hard to like dispute it, and so like we thought about like creating all those mechanisms where if you want to work with someone and you lock up your STX in the contract, and they don't deliver, you have an option to say that that person hasn't delivered the work. So like that makes sense to me. Like we have those options that'll be decentralized, and then over time, like when you have your own community and you're doing your own local gigs, or whether you go back to look at the global gigs and see who's available, you'll be able to, it'll be kind of like a git book, or I think the best example is probably like Gitbook, where you could create your own Gitbook for your own community, and you'll be able to spin up your own DAO and then use your own URL for that DAO, so it'll look like it's coming from you. So like those are things like people need, and like Stacks London.exe, they can have that URL, and it will just be the back end, but it looks like you completely own it. You've created it. So like those are like the tools that are coming, and that's why I get excited. And then obviously just like collaborating together, I know it's going to take time. I know there's a lot of things like we still need to build. Like in a week or two, we're going to ship like the ability to have like you can post comments on a gig, and so like people can see that, like they can go back and forth and say, hey, you said you're going to do this, can you do that? And if you can't deliver, then I'll have to mark it 50% or 75%. Things that like that's going to add just more visibility to the community. That's why I'm excited too. I personally just I use this thing too because I had to your point, Hero Gamer. I just reached out to Teflon Musk to create like some funny memes for us, and so I paid him, I don't know, like 25 stacks. But I think more people are going to do that. I've seen like Good Kitty, she added it to her link tree, like her zero authority file page. Once we get the new version on those profile pages, people will be able to make you an offer there directly. So that makes sense to me because I mean, me personally, I do like different consulting services too, and people can find me and make me an offer, and we could work together. And I'd love for people to see that I was able to help someone in the community, so then you could see that and say, hey, can you help me? And I'll pay you fives to do that. And that's great. Like those are things like that are like really great to do.
I'm excited for all what you said, like, especially when it comes to the community part. I'm excited. I've already started, dreaming about what I could do with that. There are lots of things rather that, you could put out with that kind of, in that kind of, um, system. It's something that I feel is really innovative around here because, there are people outsourcing rather is, going to scale beyond what we're seeing. The world is becoming smaller, it's shrinking. No, they said the world is. We say the world is a global village. Right now, the world is less than the street. We are here making this call. We are all in different locations, spanning thousands of miles. So outsourcing is going to be very, very, very big when it comes to the future of working, and something like zero or DAO, sorry, stepping in and being like a guard that can put on the rails of security, transparency there. It's something that I really love, and those are the cases and those are the kind of implementations that I'm looking forward to. So that's a big one for me. I'm signing up immediately. I'm trying to look for the links throughout everything, throughout your whole profiles. Yeah, I'm signing up right now.
Yeah, and I was talking to I can't remember who I was talking to, but I was like, tell people like this what I love about this community. It's like one of the friendliest communities. People are like super kind and super open, but like also like we do a lot for each other, and it wouldn't hurt if like, and I think this is what our people will start doing, because I know I like do this now, like, hey, send me a request for like 5 stacks to do that thing, like I created some art for someone, and hey, just send me 5 stacks just like as a thank you. Like that's going to happen more. And we have to remember, this is all on chain. Like you own the NFT asset to your reputation, which eventually, if you ever wanted to, you could take that anywhere you go. And we don't own that. You own that. We're just facilitating the process. That's why we created this. Like I was telling Atlas, and Hero Gamer knows this too. And like so many people in our communities, they work together, they collaborate. There's nowhere to see that unless you told me that you work with this person. I really wouldn't know. Like now, like we're starting to develop that, like where we have a place where we could see, okay, people are collaborating, they're working together, they're sending this person and that person, they're sending each other stacks to do things, and then eventually you'll send each other Bitcoin on here too, and like that gets the creator and the pseudonymous economy going. Like those are things like I think about all the time.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally, totally. That's a lot. On my end, I've been trying to see how I can put in that effort that could really put my community on the map too. Putting that effort there, and I'm planning on expanding. I'm drawing out plans. We've got a lot of communities that are going to be collaborating with us. We've got the Google Developer Students community. We've got One Mina, a marketing firm, and those guys are bullish on coming into the Stacks ecosystem. So we are not only onboarding individuals and people, we are onboarding full communities on Stocks right here. We've also talked with Hackney, Hackney does something like finding gigs for developers, trying to find a market for them and pair them up. I think I'm going to be speaking with their founder and see how they can leverage Zero Odd right now. I'm going to be speaking with the founder on that too. Lots of communities are coming into the collaboration. We are trying to let's just say, open their eyes into seeing what really blockchain technology is, what you can do with this kind of tooling. Yeah, that's just what I'm out for. That's just what I'm out for, because many people have, like, on our side here, many people only see the crypto aspect of everything, and you seem like a mad priest shouting whenever you're saying crypto is just a means to an end. A means to an end. It's almost impossible to get people to see it in that light, but we want to take those steps to make sure we can, if people don't break that knowledge or view of limited applications of blockchain, that mass adoption, that pervasive building is not going to come. It's not going to come, and that's what we're out there for, to make sure that no matter no matter the class of where you are in the society, you're able to still be impacted by this technology that is going out there. I was sitting once and I was thinking, when people were inscribing the sOrdinals, they were paying STX fees of about 5 STX. Some people were paying 5 STX for fees, and 5 STX is almost about $10, and $10 over here is over about like 20,000 naira, and that's what would take somebody a long way. So you see, there are these kind of barriers are there for bringing people into this kind of technology because of the way they have positioned themselves. So we want to take away all that. And I love the help I'm receiving from the Stacks community, the encouragement, and it's keeping us going. It's keeping us going. So basically, hopefully this month, next month, we're going to be going out big. We're going to be launching something substantial and stable. Putting it out there.
And remember, this is not financialized, but go on Trajan, and it's trajan.app, TRAJAN.app. You can also find it on Twitter, n0authority.xyz. Create profiles on both. If you can, create a gig. If you can, a gig. Even if you do it for 2 stacks with someone, complete it, and then on Trajan, send someone an endorsement. You can say, I know this person. This person is good, or I've worked with this person. We're gonna treat those as different multipliers, and depending on how many things you have it within that criteria, we're going to do an airdrop. So that's coming up soon for I don't know, I wouldn't say soon, but definitely 4 to 6 weeks. So make sure you have a profile and make sure you guys are in that airdrop. We'd love to reward everyone who's been early in the community, and everyone who supports us. So at the very least, create a profile on Trajan, create a profile on Zero Authority, send an endorsement on Trajan, create a gig on Zero Authority, complete a gig with someone, even if you send someone 2 stacks to do whatever, and it's just for fun, just to get used to it, and get used to the workflow and the display and everything like that. We got some special airdrops coming for our community, so just want everyone to for that. All right, Trip Monkey, I really want to hear from you, man. You've been so active. You're doing a lot. Do you guys want to bring him up?
Yeah, yeah. I just shot him an invite now.
He might be busy. He might be busy. I know Shanti came up before and he dropped back down. I don't know if he's having difficulties or not. So I don't know. You invite both of them back up as well.
Hey, welcome, man. Welcome.
There we go.
Hey, thank you.
So Trippin, you've also got something that you've recently also released into the Stacks ecosystem. And again, I'm just gonna try and find that tweet. There we go. I saw it earlier on. Hero was talking about this as well. We was talking about this the other night. So can you explain a little bit about what you built there? I've just put it up at the top.
Oh, sure. So,
Yeah, when all of the excitement for STX20s and then Stacks maps and then the Stacks inscriptions and the sOrdinals and all of that stuff started happening, especially when STX20 and before people had really figured things out, there were a lot of folks that were getting transactions that were kind of stuck or wallets that had the knots out of order. And for those who aren't familiar with what a nonce is, with Stacks, every time you send a transaction to the blockchain, it has an identifier that goes with it like a counter. So your first transaction would be 1, your second transaction would be 2, and if you get those out of order, it can lock up your wallet, and then your transactions will just kind of continuously pile up in pending. And there's ways to diagnose it, but it involves going to the Stacks Explorer and clicking into each transaction and trying to kind of count up the nonce. And what happened was when I was doing, some STX 20 mint outs, I had a piece of paper next to me, and I would mint 1,000 and I would write down my nonce, and then my next time I would mint 1,000 and then I would write it down, and I was manually keeping track of it. And I figured if I had that problem, some other people might have had that problem. So this is all just kind of using the data that is available from the Hero API, and it's all free. And just this is how my brain kind of organized the wallet, right? So you can see your current transactions that were confirmed, and you can kind of see what the blockchain thinks your last used nonce was and what it assumes your next one will be, and it kind of shows you everything that's pending in the mempool, and it tries to sort them in a way that you can see if there's gaps or anything that's kind of blocking. So just a free kind of diagnostic tool to kind of see what the blockchain thinks is happening in your wallet in a way that kind of brings some of the data like the nonce and the fee more towards the forefront, so you can focus on your wallet and trying to solve that problem. So that was the initial release to it. And then Hero pointed me over, and Zero Authority, this is like exactly with what you talked about of like the networking, knowing who's working on who, because Hero pulled me aside in Discord and was like, hey, you got to talk to this guy. He's working on kind of an AI engine that does things that help solve these problems too. So in the next release that we're going to push up there, we're looking to integrate the AI engine into where if you're having trouble with your wallet, you can click one button. It'll kind of do an analysis on the wallet and make suggestions to like you're missing nonce 8. If you send a transfer, select nonce 8, and based on the current load on the blockchain, we suggest you put your fee to this. It should unclog your wallet, and then you can go ahead and do that. Or even down the line, because we have leather and things like that, you could connect your wallet to it and it would automatically create that transaction for you that should unclog your wallet and pass it down through. So just diagnostic tooling, quality of life improvements, and really just kind of making it easier to solve problems that you might run into when using the chain.
Hey, Trip, I'm wondering whether your bot or your Logix has a nuclear button option involved, because what I've seen in the past, where some people have about 50 transaction or 20 transaction or plus jammed up, it's kind of really difficult when they have, especially with a lot of nonce gaps involved, right? Because essentially you're telling this guy to do so many different actions, in order to fill those gaps so that the wallet can actually be processed properly. Sometimes it's easier to just have a nuclear option, and that nuclear option is just take all the money out of that address and into a fresh address. I don't know how you incorporate that in, but that's a good advice sometimes for certain cases.
Yeah, you could definitely abandon it. It would be unfortunate because I think anything that was in those pending transactions until I'm not exactly sure how Stacks truncates pending transactions that have sat there for too long, but if those are all going to be refunded, yeah, and that would definitely be an option.
Yeah, no. Like you would basically, like those pending ones drop after 256 blocks or whatever. I can't remember the exact number, but about 2.5 days. And like they just like say all of them has a 1 to 2 STX fee, for example. Like instead of being charged, like you fill the gap. If you have a bunch of transactions that are basically worthless anymore, well, because let's say something has already been minted out and all your pending transactions are trying to mint that thing, and then you put in like 20 STX, 10 STX, 1 STX, no matter what it is. In that case, when it's basically a bunch of worthless transactions, it's better to just take the money out of the wallet, and you will be able to take the money out of the wallet, and those things will drop off after like 2.5 days or something, and then you can redeposit back the STX. So that's sometimes actually a super cost-effective option, are better advised than just fill the gaps and let everything process and take the money into the black hole.
I see what you mean. Save everything you can and donate the rest to the miners.
But it is sort of harder to judge like situationally, because it really depends like case by case what those subsequent pending transactions are to do with. And it could be a perfectly legitimate transaction that you want to carry out, but then on the opposite end, you'll find a lot of users who submit those high transaction fees to the miners are because they're trying to mint everything as fast as they can before it minted out, get prioritized. But then you will get probably most of them are the tail end of those stuff. For example, if you have an NFT mint, it's the same thing. Like people trying to mint everything, and then the last sort of tail end of people will basically be sending those transactions, and those will just be failed transaction, taking the fee with them to the network, to the miners. But do you really want that as a user? I mean, maybe you deservedly have to pay those things, but one trick to save yourself some money is by taking the money out of the wallet for the next transaction, so you don't get charged.
Their hand up.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense. I do wonder if a transaction goes over those 256 blocks and gets pruned, does the fee get refunded to the sender, or does the miner get that fee?
No, that's nothing happens. It just dropped out of mempool. It could be displayed as part of the mempool data analytics because just somebody defines that should still be counted as one transaction, but actually they just disappear from the Explorer completely. Yeah, they literally
if there was a two
deploy.
If there was a 2 stacks fee on that transaction, does it go back to the sender's wallet?
Well, if you don't get charged, then I guess it's no longer reserved from your wallet. Because currently, I guess how it works is if you send a 2 transaction fee, I think that it reserves the 2 STX balance from your balance, so you can no longer move anything that you can't double spend. So if you have a balance of 100 and then you say send me 5 STX with 2 transaction fee, you're spending 7 in total, you have 93 STX left in the wallet. And then if you try to spend 95 STX in your next transaction, that wouldn't work in theory, unless like API is delayed in detecting your balances or whatever, right? And so, yeah, so those
So
will
what I'm
probably get refunded. Like in your, I don't think it's a refund per se, but it is, I think you'll free up your balance, that 2 STX, to be used again.
here's why I'm asking. Say there's a really hot NFT mint out, right? And everyone's trying to mint these NFTs. They hit 100, and that's the end of the collection, and the mint out stops. And I have like 10 or 15 transactions, all with 5 stacks in the fee that are sitting in the mempool. It's almost more beneficial for me to leave those pending and just fall off because the fee will come back, as opposed to
Yeah,
letting them process, because then the fee will
exactly.
go to the miner. Yeah,
Yeah,
it saves
exactly.
you
But
money.
sometimes it's hard to control what gets processed, what doesn't, and what. Yeah, I don't know. Usually it gets processed, but sometimes you kind of hope that it doesn't get processed. But then what happens is essentially you're making your wallet like stuck. You can't use anything new now. If you're happy to do that and wait 2 days and don't use your wallet, that's fine. But what a lot of people want to do is they actually want to carry out real transactions again. They want to be active again right now. So it's better off for these people to move off the new account so they can start be active and they don't get charged apart from the transfer fee to a different account. And they can start doing everything they need to do with majority of the balance is still intact. So that's the trade-off. You wait or take your balance with the SCX transfer out. You still won't get charged for the subsequent transactions in theory, I think, because all you're doing is finding the lowest nouns and say transfer all my balances off to a different account, and then those pending account will just hang there for like a few days. um, it cannot take money from a zero balance account.
So that's kind of what the whole website's about, is, with all of these different decisions and things that could be impacted, and what transactions are being blocked, and maybe there's a low fee transaction that is blocking a higher fee transaction that's more important for you to get through, to give you the different suggestions of things you can try to get out of the mess you might be in. That's kind of the goal.
Yeah, for sure. I think there are just so many different scenarios, and it's always in context of what are the pending transaction are about. Because it can be the same transaction that gets stuck, but it's the context that is the nuances. If there's no pending transactions after that, or are they pending transaction with lots of high fee, then in that case maybe better off to take it out of the wallet, because you can say very black and white that solves that specific transaction nouns. But what is it in the context of? I think it's just a harder thing to, I guess, um, to analyze. But that's like the next level stuff, I guess. Because I've seen so many different type of wallets getting stuck, because I used to manually look at their wallets and advise people how to get unstuck. So I've seen so many different type of scenarios. So just letting you sort of share my experience with you.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll tell you what, it's kind of a weird hobby now to just on one of the computer monitors have a random wallet up, because on the newer version I have the roads color coded for pending and nonces in order and nonces out of order, and it's neat to just pick a wallet that has a whole bunch of pending transactions, that's doing like a sOrdinals or a stacks map mint out, and just pop it up in that tool, leave it on a monitor, and just over a couple hours watch how the mempool is actually clearing the transactions, because you'll see them disappear from pending whenever the mempool picks them up, but then you don't see them at all as they kind of get processed by the mempool and then go up to layer one and then come back down through. And then the Hero database has to pick up all the events. Then it has to get published out to the Hero API. And then they start popping into confirmed. But you can almost like see the timing of the chain and the Hero API work together. And as the transactions move from the pending slot up to the confirmed.
Yeah, that I tried that bot and it's really, really good, by the way.
Hand up earlier.
Hello. Yeah, I was just trying to say about the stuck transactions that I face the problem here. So when minting the stacks map, I also face the same problem when a transaction was like a lot of transactions were stuck, and I was just like confused what to do with that. So there we notice some of my transactions, those have lower fees, uh, and the first lower nonce, and the transaction which were higher fees and higher nonce. So the higher nonce, if the higher fees block transaction gets uh, completed, then your all other transaction gets stuck. That was we figured. So to overcome this effect, so just to overcome all these transactions pending thing, so we started giving uniform fees to all of the transactions, like 0.10 or 0.15 fee, and that time I saw myself here. So all the transactions went through, and still my transactions with a 0.50 fee or more than one stacks fee are still stuck. So yeah, that's the only way I saw to the pending transaction was giving a uniform fee for all the transactions. Yeah, minting that time or that day. Yeah.
No, that's absolutely correct, because if you have a transaction with a nonce of 3 that has a very small fee, and then your transaction 4, 5, 7, you put bigger fees, number 4 will never go through until number 3 goes through. And if number 3 is really low on the priority list, that will keep everything else from flowing through also.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and the only way we thought was like just to give uniform fees for all the transactions. I can just check my lot of my transactions are out of the main pool, and still a lot of my transaction with 2 stacks of fees are still pending. And yeah, we just have to move money out of the wallet by changing the nouns, and that's the only thing we can do here for the now. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
information.
there are different types of transactions, transferring a token is pretty simple to do, and the fee on that is probably generally lower. And if you go to Triple Monkey's website, what he shares information is basically there are different tiers of transactions, and based on your tier, your transaction, you would set your transaction differently rather than just a standard like low, medium, high. Because it depends on the complexity of your transaction of the smart contract, and then you set your fee accordingly. So sometimes to SCX may sound fine, but actually, if you're trying to deploy a super complicated transaction, maybe to SCX just isn't enough for this specific traffic of mempool. So I think best to visit his website and get the stats for different tiers of transactions.
Yeah, I will sure look into it. And also, I have like a question about So when I used to check the meme pool, and I used to see so Coinbase block, so it used to only have a 3 transaction block. But when the F2 mining block used to be mined, and it was consisting around 300s, and all the lower fee transaction went through from the F2 blocks only, mostly the F2 block. So I didn't understand that concept also here.
What's your question? Sorry, F2 pool and the mining thing.
Yeah. So a lot of the transactions were picked from the F2 block only when the lower transactions are. So if the lower transaction fees, if the block consists of like 10 or like lower fees compared to the other transactions, so that block was usually mined by the F2 mining pool.
Yeah, we don't really know exactly how the miners are picking specifically which block. But we what we do know is F2 pool is, you could go as far as saying exploiting a little loophole in the current system to um, to win more blocks than other miners, and this creates centralization because they are winning and they are getting bigger, and it puts the smaller miners out of business, if you like, in the worst case scenario. So they are exploiting this little loophole, although this loophole is within Stacks consensus network, but and it's within their functional ability in Bitcoin network to do that. But it's a loophole that we are trying to close. And this is exactly one of the key purposes of the upcoming Nakamoto upgrade, because the core devs and the community said, okay, this is bad for Stacks because they are gaming the system, if you like, for lack of better words. And everybody who is using proof of transfer is receiving less Bitcoin than if they played honestly. But we do know miners don't give a fuck about honesty. All they care about is profit. So their incentive is to use whatever they can to win as much money as they can. So that's why they are not going by ethic. They're just going by monetary value, and they are gaming the system. So Nakamoto upgrade, one of the 5 key, I would say one of the top thing is to mitigate this. And so this is MEV mitigation. One of the proposals in the upcoming SIP is to tackle this directly.
Okay, yeah, sure, you got into it. Yeah, but the miners are like way too crazy sometimes. So this
Wait, what?
is the only way. Miners are like crazy sometimes, like
Really?
we just need to tackle this issue. That's the only thing.
Yeah, but it's not an issue. You can just say, let's create an app that overlays Stacks network to eliminate this. If we can just create like a Alex or Bitflow app and solve this, I think we would have already done so. But to actually get to we can put you can't even put a patch on it. Basically, you have to go into the operation room, open the body, and start doing surgery. And this is what the core developer is doing. They are going to the code base, changing some lines of code to really get to the root of the problem, so it can be solved on the fundamental level. And it takes time. And to do such fundamental changes, you basically need to monitor and test and do all kinds of tests to ensure this root operation doesn't have any, bacteria or side effect. Because such root operation, if you not careful, it can create a lot of side effect. And the code devs need time to make sure there's no side effect.
Yeah, of course, and the Nakamoto upgrade will solve all the issue, and that's what like everyone's
I
getting.
mean, like it's a little bit of cat and mouse game sometimes. You cannot promise it will solve the issue completely. What you can do is you do your best to come up with the best solution that you can think of right now after community discussion, and say this is 95% likely to solve the issue. There will be unforeseen circumstances maybe we just never thought of, but they are so smart, they might outsmart us and find an alternative loophole. That scenario is still on the table. We don't know until we implement it,
Yeah, we don't know until we implement. We just need to keep building on it.
Yeah, I think more than likely we will solve it, but you just can never say 100% on this. Maybe you can be 95% sure, but it's like how did people know upgrading Bitcoin with the Taproot upgrade? How did anybody know it's going to create ordinals? Like nobody knew this, but there will be outlier situation, and ordinal is created. And now Maxi are complaining like this side effect. But I guess what I'm saying, just in general, it is kind of hard to predict this kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely got you. Yeah. Thank
And
you so much.
if I may show a little bit for the greater good of the community, this week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I'm gonna be doing SIP reading club. So what that means is it's Nakamoto upgrade actually is a document. Well, there will be a document produced to go along with this Nakamoto upgrade. So you have the code changes, but what you have is a separate document that describe in kind of normal terms, not in code terms, what these changes are about. And what I will do with the Crossfire this week is we will go through line by line, sentence by sentence, that SIP document itself, so that everybody in the community can also review with us, can just be aware of what upgrade we will be voting on, because this Nakamoto upgrade actually need to be voted by the people. It's not a decision that the core developer can make. They actually need our permission, i.e. the STX token holders permission to have this live. And we'll be voting on that sort of February, beginning of February, approximately. You know, like we can all easily just go and vote yes without any education, but that's not true understanding of what we're voting on, and that's not true sovereignty. So we are trying to bring more voters education, if you like, so that you have the chance to say yes or no. You know, we are not here to, you know, to just say everybody go and vote yes. I think that would be not very you need to have critical voices to identify some of the loophole that we never thought of, basically. And I think it's important for people to review the document together. So we'll be hosting Twitter Spaces this week on that.
All I can picture is heroes like Monkey PFP sitting next to a fireplace, reading the SIP out to the crowd. Little PBS music playing in the background, easy listening.
It'll be a Crossfire, mostly, I think. He'll probably do the more technical part. I'll do the less technical part, because he's more technical than me. But yeah, maybe I'll put some jazz music background.
Some soft jazz. Yeah, so make sure if you guys are about, you guys tune into those, so you guys can kind of gather an idea on the upgrade.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, would love to see the like a lot of developers on the stacks, as I said, like as Nate also like maybe I'm building the community around the developers. So a lot of students around my university and other university, which are like computer engineering students and finance students, which are coming on board and trying to learn about the stacks as the meta protocols on the stacks are getting popular. And so people are finding way better option to interact with the chain via stacks like meta protocol like sOrdinals, STX20. So can bring on board a lot of like more and more students, people that can edge. Yeah. So will love to hear about the Nakamoto upgrade and all the things, and we'll try to learn about it.
I mean, interestingly, I was talking to Dan, who is more technical in Stacks ecosystem. He was saying some of the new things being created, Stacks, inscriptions or whatnot, they're actually kind of, because they are more like on-chain, essentially they are like a variation on SIP9 standard. Like it could have been a different standard competing, like who is the more official SIP9 standard. Some of the new things being sort of launched, they could have been the alternative to SIP9 token. So I found that pretty interesting because it's less like a meta protocol and more like a native stacks network sort of standard. Yeah, just FYI. So I think the different new protocols being launched, they have their variation in terms of nativeness.
Like, so like I know the friends like they are talking a lot about the clarity also, and they would like to start on the clarity, developing on the clarity, as they were on the Ethereum ecosystem developing on EVM. But now as the clarity thing, and after the Bitcoin unleashed, the recent developments on the Bitcoin, as the price we saw from the 15,000 to 44,000, like a lot of people from like are like getting together and like asking what is the stacks and what is clarity. So then you like we are also trying to build the community around like clarity to help them understand more about the clarity. What difference between the clarity and the solidity? That's the more important here. So that's what we are also trying to yeah. Was
Triple Monkey, did you have some comments about the token standards coming came up recently?
Yeah, well, I think you kind of nailed it, right? The STX20s are essentially fungible tokens, which are the same as the SIP9. The only difference is like SIP9 keeps track of the index inside of a smart contract and uses clarity. So when you do things like transfers, the transaction fee and things are a little bit higher. What the STX20, the new little standard, is doing is taking all of that indexing responsibility, and instead of doing it in a contract, they're just doing it off chain in an indexer, which makes your transfer actually be a token transfer, and the fee is a lot less. So really, it's taking the logic of keeping track of that fungible tokens ledger. Instead of doing it in a contract, it's doing it in an off-chain indexer, which makes your transaction fees much lower. So it's almost like a discounted SIP9 fungible token when it comes to your transaction fees.
Yeah, because I guess you are storing less data on chain. Would that be one of the reasons?
You're not even executing a smart contract. You're just doing a token transfer, and
Yeah,
something off chain is looking at the memo and doing all your transfers off chain instead of doing your transfers within the
yeah,
smart contract. So
yeah,
it's taking your SIP9 smart contract and moving the entire thing to an off chain indexer and doing all of your business logic there.
yeah. It's more like meta protocol.
Yeah, so if the
Well,
normal way is driving up and down the highway, this one is kind of going off to the side on the berm and just shooting past everybody because it skips all of the smart contract stuff.
I think it's good to have different flavors, no?
Yeah, and they both have their pros and cons, right? They're kind of they're both driving the same way, but they have their own lanes.
Yeah, so just in case you didn't know, Shanktan is a university student. He's writing his thesis on Bitcoin, and some part of it is to do with stacks, I guess. So he was researching into these meta protocols on stacks. Yeah.
yeah, about also about in the stacks 10 tokens, yeah, stacks 10, the stacks inscription, yeah. So recently we saw some roll up, like they can be wrapped into the thing. So that's also some interesting thing to look into there.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be more coming because, like in the Bitcoin world, you have the room coming up, and I heard there's another standard called like BRC three something. Yeah, like people are constantly inventing all these new token standard on Bitcoin and probably on stacks, especially if the Bitcoin fee gonna be high constantly. I think more invention gonna happen on stacks on these new meta protocols.
Yeah, the Bitcoin fees, and yeah, the new fees are so high, and new protocol, I guess it was like BRC 320 or 310 something like integration. I saw some posts about it. Yeah, I think okay. Yeah, but there a lot of scams came on the Bitcoin as BRC420 and like NAT and TAP protocol and a lot of different. Hope so. Like a lot of protocols will be more built on the meta protocols will be built on the stacks too. Yes, so
Nice, nice. So I was gonna let this space run, but I think we hit our like 2 hour mark, and we've had a lot of really good discussion. Honestly, so we're gonna probably wrap it up for the night. I want to thank everyone who joined us tonight, especially our speakers. It's been awesome having you guys on. It's been awesome learning more about a bit of everything from Zero Authority DAO to how uh, I'm not super techy myself yet, so I'm still learning it all. But it's been awesome listening in and learning. I honestly didn't do too much speaking tonight, and that's perfectly fine. But thank you all. Thank you, Hero Man. You've been here from the beginning. Thank you, Shantanu. Thank you, Trippin' Monkey. Special thanks to our community builders like Nat and I. He's still in here. And thanks to our community for the support. Until then, that's a wrap. And we'll see you next time. Oh, thanks, Atlas. Without you, man, I don't think any of us would be here, man, with the plan, dog.